What can we realistically expect from you and our state legislators over the next year when it comes to maintaining current, vital human services programs?
All politics are local. It doesn't matter if I spend 10, 15 hours a day, 18 hours a day in the state, people still want to know what are we doing that's going to help them impact the issues here. Hiring freeze, folks. No more hiring until we have a realistic handle on the budget. 2, we need to sit down with the Human Service Committee from the Board of Aldermen and talk about the programs and the money that's available and enhance those programs. Was that your question?
Well,
I want to make sure I'm not going off.
I want to know what
so that's
what realistically could you do?
That can be realistic. That can be realistically done. And again, I'm going back
to maintain these current.
I will go back to the $8 million that comes into the city of New Haven, and I will make sure I will put conditions on that money. That money is spent purely for the sources of operating the programs that are going to serve our youth in the community. It's just that simple. Now let's talk about the state. The state has some things that it has to do on a state level. It has to be realistic in terms of how it's operating. You can't have these little no-show jobs that come in for 4 or 5 hours. It happens, folks. Let's be honest about it. There's a lot of waste there. So we've got to do some precision cutting here in making sure that each department is operating efficiently. And every dollar that's coming out of the department, OPM, whatever department the money is coming from, which OPM is the one responsible for sending the $8 million here, we've got to make sure that that money is being utilized the way that it should. What happens when it comes to the city of New Haven? Many times it goes to make up jobs for people, and it never reaches the community. So, as I'm saying, as a state rep, I would send this money down with conditions. But now, in order for that to work, you've got to have a strong Board of Aldermen. When the money comes in, the board votes on it. But there's no oversight in terms of how the mayor and the administration spends it. So there's got to be some serious oversight from the Board of Aldermen, and there has to be a level that the city administration can't spend unless it's approved by the Human Service Committee.
What I would do is work with my colleagues at the state level to find out what's really going on as best possible. And yes, we have to make some precision cuts, but we have to understand what's going on at the state level. And we have to realize that we want to maintain services. We do. But we're going to have some hard times. Connecticut has insurance as one of its major ways of doing things, right? Where are you going to get money from when the insurance industry has been hit? So what we need to do is hope that we can maintain the levels current, but pay attention to where we're spending money and make sure that when the cuts come, which they will do, that we minimize the cuts that come. And it goes back to what I've been talking about all night. If we're going to try to maintain money in the things that we see as necessary, then we must look at where we spend money. All the things I've been talking about, the prison system, the transportation system, on and on and on. Those are things you have to have a state legislator that understands. It's the same story over and over again. You can change what we're talking about, but if you're going to maintain the money, you have to understand where the money is being spent and what we are reticent to cut. We're not going to cut the prison systems. What a state legislator can do, though, is come and prepare the community for what's going on. Is talk to the local legislators on the Board of Aldermen and find out what is needed. That's what you could do. And what you can also do is you can be invested in the community enough to be in the community to tell the community, look, if you want me to be able to be successful, I need you to come up there and have you and open up your mouth and put your voice there so that I can be successful. And that's what I'm doing. And as the chair of the Connecticut Federation, that's what I'm doing in New Haven, that's what I'm doing in New Britain, in Waterbury, in Stamford. And that allows me to have a bigger voice come up and help me to do the job necessary to help this city.
Yeah. Is burning in this audience here, and it has to do with laws which are legal, with laws which are immoral. Currently, we're having discussion at the state level around 3 strikes. I mentioned earlier that I think we're #1 in the nation in incarcerations. A lot of that is due to immoral laws in our state. I'd like to know from each of you what you will do to absolutely stop further support around 3 strikes in our communities at the state level.
Absolute wrong way to go. And I can tell you it's the absolute wrong way to go because I've been working on that issue. Last year when they tried to push 3 strikes through, I spent my time at the Capitol making sure it didn't happen. As a state legislator, I would only continue that type of work, but then now I would have a different place in the whole system. I would do the same thing that I saw Tony Walker do last year. She sat there and she eviscerated the Republicans because they didn't know what they were talking about, quite frankly. They had 7 or 8 different plans and none of them could answer half the questions they were being asked. And that's what we need to do. I've already stated that I'm not going to be on board with the 3 strikes. I got the letter from the 3 Strikes Coalition asking me to be on board as a prospective legislator. And I told them no. What you do is you rally the community. It's what we've done on all of these issues related to the prison system. 3 strikes, the conditions in the prison. We spent the winter standing outside in 27-degree weather protesting at the prison. This is not about simply running for office so that I can have my face up there. This is what is critical to this community. This is what I've been working on. You want to know what I'm going to do as a state legislator? The same thing I've been doing as a community activist, working directly for the community.
Gary, I received that letter and refused to sign it. Not in support of it. Immediately what came to mind is that when we do a 3-strike law, who gets hurt in that law? We do. Poor Hispanics. Less affluent folks throughout the city. It's a bad law. It's a bad idea to even do that. I think it's an immoral. I do agree with you. It is an immoral law. But as a state representative, I can't do it alone. The NAACP is going to have to take leadership on this, and it too is going to have to step up to the plate with a bigger bat and say, hey, you know what, this is wrong. And people that are going to support it, we need to start looking at them and voting them out of office, removing them as commissioners, removing them as attorneys, and removing them as lawyers who are supporting this 3-strike law. So there's not much that, one time tonight, that we disagree on. I can only say to you that as your state representative, that will be a very key issue with me, because I know a number of families who've been incarcerated because of unfair laws.